Today I'm going to cover the straddle handstand. I'm going to show variations against the wall, freestanding, half straddle, and small straddle variations. Now when we go into our straddle handstand, normally we're going in and out from a straight position. So if you think of a straight position as being relatively a straight line, so everything's stacked. Now when I go into straddle, especially a big straddle, my feet are going to slowly come this way. It's the same as if I lay down on the floor in this straight handstand position. When I open my legs, I'll get to a point and my feet will start going up. So the feet going up is the same in straddle here as the feet going this direction, so away from me. Now if I'm balanced like this, if my feet go this way, I'm going to start to fall that way. So what we need to do is take something in the opposite direction to stop us falling forwards. We take our butt back in the opposite direction. So in the handstand, we have a straight position, and then as I open to straddle, my feet go towards that direction, so this direction, and my butt goes in the opposite direction. So the wider I open, the more I'm going to pike. Now we don't want to pike too much to go towards more of that pike or 7 position. We want to go just as much as our hips need to go to open to straddle. Now our big straddle is seen as wide as we can go with the legs before we start to turn over in the hip towards like that press. So we don't want to go into like a posterior tilt in the pelvis, so I keep going as wide as I can. For me, it's around here. If I go any further, I'm going to start to round down towards that press position. I don't want to do that because that's going to become very heavy. So my hip has fallen over. So we don't want to go into strength, we want to stay in that balanced position, but try and be as wide as we can in the big straddle position. So a great way of understanding that is to look at it on the wall. So when I heel pull off, I use my fingertips to pull off the wall. If I now go to my straddle, my butt goes backwards, my feet come forwards, and I might be able to kiss the wall. So I'm just kissing the wall now. So my butt's gone back, my feet have come forwards. So that's a real good way of practicing that. Now when I just went into that position, I actually had to reach back a little bit too far with the hips, meaning my hands weren't close enough. So I'm going to go a little bit closer to the wall with my hands. Then I'm going to try that straddle position again. So start on the wall with the heels, see if you can come off, come down to your straddle, butt touches, heels are obviously off the wall. When I go back to my straight, heels touch, butt come off. Try and keep the knees locked, toes pointed, so your body's staying as much of one segment as it can, and go in between those 2 points. So you really understand then what's happening with the hips. Now what a lot of people will do, and they'll get into a bit of a mess with this, is that their head and shoulders will go forwards at the same time to compensate for the feet. And that will end up like this. So they'll fall against the wall. And then we'll have way too much weight pushing in this direction. And if that was freestanding, you would definitely fall over. We want to just counterbalance. So I'm here to here, here to here. So the butt's just coming on and off the wall as the feet open and close to a big straddle. Now the big straddle is the most commonly used and the one I'd recommend people start with. So they only really concentrate on those 2 positions, straight and straddle. I would obviously tuck as well. So if you are training handstands, they're the 3 I would definitely be working: tuck, straddle and straight. Now we can also practice the small straddle. Now the small straddle is as wide as I can go with my feet before I start to pike, before I start to close that position. So for me, I'll tell you when I can feel it. Hopefully it's right. So there, so around here, that's my small straddle. So to go any wider than that, I'm going to have to take the hips backwards because the toes are coming forwards. So there's my open hip position in the straight. I open as far as I can before I go into a pike position at the hips. So that's small straddle. Now that one's a little bit harder to train against the wall because the butt doesn't go backwards now. So it's much harder to train here. You might be better off chest to wall position to try and feel this one. And then just opening as far as you can there. But the only issue with this is that now I'm leaning against the wall. So I'm a bit like this, I'm leaning against the wall. So it's a bit false. So if you're still working mainly wall drills, I wouldn't worry about that small straddle position, but feel it when it happens on your transition to the big straddle. And then we have half straddle. Now half straddle is a very shallow or very small straddle, and I'm only going to open a little bit, I say shoulder width apart, and I'm going to have a slight external rotation to lock the position in. This one's common in hand balancing. So go towards skills like one arms. So there, so more shoulder width apart. So it looks very cool in a one arm. So locking that position in. So that's your half straddle position. So you could practice those individually and just build time in the position. So you want to be able to get up to around 15 to 30 second holds in each of those, whether you're using the wall or doing it freestanding. And then I'll start to work on transitions. So first transition between straight and the position you're going for. So I might go for straight, big straddle, straight. And then another set would be straight, small straddle, straight. Just showing control in each position. You could go straight, half straddle, straight. And that's one of my favorite drills against the wall. So understand those hips going backwards. So be in a straight position, ideally heel pull off, open till your butt touches, go back, heels touch. Making sure you open the hip fully in the straight. So working between those two, you really understand the hip changing position going between that piked straddle position and the straight with the open hip. A good place to get to with those transitions from straight to straddle to straight is to get to the point where you can do 10 repetitions in one set. Once you've got 10, you can then obviously start to play with other variations. I'll start to play with tuck and straddle combinations. Now, I've just launched a new website, www.paultwyman.com.au. Check it out if you get time. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions, and I'll speak to you next time. Thanks, guys.